The New York State Public High School Athletic Association announced this week that they are moving fall sports, including football, to the spring. The association says it spoke with over 500 athletic directors and said it's just not safe enough to administer high-risk fall sports. The revised season is set to begin March 15th, with the spring sports season now moved to April the 19th. And New York, just the latest state to move high school football to the spring, following the lead of 17 other states who have already done so. Some of those states including California, the District of Columbia, Colorado, and North Carolina. And for more on these moves and other high school football info that you need to know, let's now welcome in MaxPreps Director of Programming Steve Montoya and National Football Editor Zack Poff. Thanks for joining us, gents. Steve, I'm going to start with you here and just get your reaction to this decision by New York to put off fall sports, including football, to the spring.
Yeah, it's been kind of an up and down week with high school sports and high school football in general, because some states like Michigan and Delaware have a reverse course, and they were actually scheduled to play in the spring, and they've come back now and say, no, we're going to go forward, we're going to play in the fall. And then New York comes out this week and says competitive sports like football and volleyball and competitive cheer need to be moved to the spring. And there's other states out there like Colorado and Connecticut still kind of debating on what they're going to do here in the fall. So we could see more ups and downs on who's playing high school sports. So we're just kind of wait and see. But New York, like California, just another big state to announce that they will be moving to spring. You can see this map right here. The orange states are those that are playing this week. That's 24 states. Now, states like Texas and Florida, not all teams are playing yet, but some teams are. And a few new states come into play this week, as well as Pennsylvania and Kentucky get rolling.
While 18 states are now focusing on spring ball, others are already underway. As you mentioned, Pennsylvania, Kentucky are back on the gridiron this weekend. For those states that are going, Zack, how successful has it been so far?
Well, it's nice to look at Utah, man. They're already 4 weeks in, and we haven't seen any major outbreaks in the state of Utah. Alabama's 3 weeks in, Tennessee's 3 weeks in. Of course, we've seen, a school here and there that have to, take 2 weeks off because there was a potential kid that had COVID or was around someone that had it. So we've seen a lot of success, and I think that's what leads to, a couple of states Steve brought up, Delaware and Colorado, having, second guesses. Hey, maybe we can play football in the fall. It's just very important to follow the, protocols, the correct guidelines, because if you do those things properly, there's a good chance you're going to have a chance to play an entire fall season. And Utah's the prime example of that. They've had, close to 1,000 football games in the state of Utah almost already, and we haven't seen any major outbreaks. So it's been some positive things to see so far. And, we're going to see more states begin to start. Texas has the 2 big classifications starting September 24th, and then Florida is starting to sprinkle in teams each week. So it's going to be interesting to see how these bigger states do. But also Georgia got started last week, and we're seeing positive things out of the Peach State too.
Yeah, and let's get to some game action. You mentioned Georgia. Let's start there. Number 5, Grayson takes on McCook. Grayson laid a 50-burger on Jones County in their opener. Zack, what are some of the big storylines in this game?
The biggest storyline for Grayson was they were supposed to have 2021 Florida commit Carlos Del Rio at quarterback, but the GHSA came out and announced he's ineligible for his senior season, so he's most likely not going to get a chance to play his last season of high school football, which is heartbreaking because he used to be at McEachern, transferred over to Grayson to play his senior season. Luckily for the Rams, though, they got a stud backup quarterback in Dayon Cannon. He balled out last week, threw for over 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns in that 51-13 win over Jones County. But he faces a bigger test this week in McEachern High School, so it's going to be a little bigger test for the Grayson Rams. I expect them to roll in this one and win by a couple of scores. They also got some other studs. Phil Moffa at running back, a 2021 Clemson commit. He had a nice season opener last week. And they also got this cat, 2021 Georgia Tech commit, Jamal Haynes at wide receiver. He had a $150 last week and a couple of touchdown grabs. So he's the guy to watch tonight. And I think Grayson's going to win this one by a couple of scores. But just unfortunate news for Carlos Del Rio, man. I was looking forward to see him ball for the Grayson Rams, and this potentially could hurt them later down the road. But it is nice to have a guy like Dayon Cannon as your backup quarterback. He's also a stud baseball player, too.
Yeah, and excuse my Canadian accent for calling it McEachern. McEachern is the way that we go. Okay, in Ohio, big Cincinnati derby between St. Xavier and Elder, to use parlance from another version of football. Steve, these two teams are very familiar with one another. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, this matchup's always up and down. Any team can win. That's the great thing about rivalries. Throw the records out the door. You know, using that old cliche, because it's true. St. X and Elder go back and forth, and they play in one of the toughest leagues, not only in Ohio, but the entire country in the Greater Catholic League. 3 of the 4 teams in that league are in the top 10 in the state. Both these teams are led by junior quarterback. St. X has Brogan McCoffey. He's a junior, and Elder has Ben Hamilton. Both have already thrown up for over 500 yards in 3 games. So I see this as one of those old school classic rivalries that it's going to be one heck of a football game in Cincinnati. I have been out to Cincinnati and I've seen both these schools play. They love their football. They love their rivalries. This is one of them. I think the max capacity for this game right now is set at 1,500. You can bet that all those will be filled. Usually this game would be fans everywhere, so it's going to be a little limited based on the COVID precautions, but you should see just classic good old football in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, nothing like a good rivalry game under those Friday night lights. All right, across state lines, Ohio's Archbishop Moeller comes up against number 15 Trinity of Kentucky. This is the season opener for Trinity here, Zach, and you have your eye on the man toting the rock here, don't you?
My guy, Armin Tucker, man, this dude's an absolute stud. I still can't believe he doesn't have any Power 5 offers yet, but he will soon. He's only a junior. Last year as a sophomore, dude balled for over 1,100 yards rushing, had 20-plus touchdowns, and Trinity is straight loaded. You know, they won the 6A state title last year with a very young squad. They bring the majority of those key players back this season. And when you talk about legendary high school football coaches, you got to bring up Bob Beatty. He took over as a head coach for Trinity before the 2000 season, and all he's done in his 20 years at the helm is lead them to 14 state titles. The school's won 26 state championships in school history, and there's going to be a good chance they go for number 27. And I expect Armin Tucker to put on a show tonight against Archbishop Moeller. I'm going to guarantee this one for you, Jeremy. He's going to go for 200-plus on the ground and give me 3 touchdowns.
200-plus on the ground and 3 touchdowns. All right, you heard it here from Zack Poff. Okay, later Friday evening, this is one of the biggest games in the country, taking place in Oklahoma as Jenks hosts Union. It's the Backyard Bowl, Steve. What makes this one so special?
Yeah, this one is so special because it's the 57th time these teams have gone at it. The only thing separating them is the Arkansas River. They're about 15 minutes apart from each other, and most of these kids have grown up either playing against each other or even in travel ball or anything like that. They actually play together, so now they're going to separate and get to throw on the pads and battle it in this beautiful Backyard Bowl series. I mean, if you put it into kind of a college perspective, it's like Ohio State versus Michigan. It's that type of atmosphere. It's that type of game. Everybody knows about it. It's the one constant thing in the state of Oklahoma. These two teams will play each other, and the series is 6-4 for Jenks in the last 10 years. So it's always back and forth. We got some good prospects in this game. Logan Nobles, he's an Oklahoma State commit for Jenks. He's a big-time kid, top 100 player. And it's just, I know I said this before when I was talking about the Ohio thing, but when you think of high school football, and for those of us who played high school football or went to high school and went to the games, you think about these type of games. Yes, the out-of-state matchups are fun, bragging rights, but this is high school football right here. Union versus Jenks tonight. Can't wait to watch this one.
Well, and you start comparing it to Michigan, Ohio State, that perks up the ears of more than a few fans. You will be tuning in to keep an eye on that one. Okay, let's drill it down a little bit further. Give us some of the top recruits that you're keeping an eye on this weekend. Zach, I'll start with you here. Who you keeping an eye on?
This is easy, man. We're going back to Georgia. You got a 5-star quarterback versus a 5-star quarterback. Brock Vandegrift, a 2021 Georgia commit, he's going up against Gunnar Stockton, a 2022 South Carolina commit. They're playing tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's the ESPNU game, and this is going to be good. Man, Brock Vandegrift, you talk about toughness and grittiness. That's what Brock Vandegrift brings to the table. This is a dude that has, over 6,000 yards of total offense over the last 2 seasons. And then you look at other things. You look at Gunnar Stockton. This is a dude that's on pace to end his high school career with over 16,000 total yards of offense. This is going to be a get your popcorn ready type of game. I'm going to roll with the junior in this one, though. I think Gunnar Stockton's going to find a way to win a tight game and beat Brock Vandegrift. But one thing's for sure, Georgia and South Carolina are both in great hands with both of these stud quarterbacks. You look at Gunnar Stockton, he was our 2018 MaxPreps Freshman of the Year, and Brock Vandegrift's been very accustomed to the All-American teams, too.
All right, Zach, you're talking about a few good quarterbacks there, no doubt about it, but another kid, and we've mentioned his name quite a bit in these first 4 weeks, and that there's a good reason. Jackson Dart, one of the hottest prospects right now. I think his stock is just raising every week. He didn't have any Power 5 offers, and then boom, all of a sudden he's got Arizona State, TCU, Ohio, or Iowa State, and you can expect a lot more coming his way. This kid is the real deal. He leads the number 14 team in the country, Corner Canyon. They're 4-0 right now. They've won 30 games in a row, and Zach, I don't think you would argue with me here. I don't see them losing this season either. So the defending champs are going to be tough to beat, and there's a good reason for it, and it's because Jackson Dart, this kid is the real deal. If you haven't heard about him yet, look him up. He's special to watch. I know we enjoy watching him every week, and Zach, we've seen him on the national level as well, but we've known about this kid. He's special, and it's always fun to mention his name, Jackson Dart.
They are MaxPreps Director of Programming Steve Montoya and National Football Editor Zack Poff, keeping us up to date on all the latest happenings in high school football. Great stuff as always, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Here are the top games that they want you to keep an eye on this week. Grayson McCook is a big one. St. Xavier and Elder, that is a good rivalry game. And then Union taking on Jenks. That one is a big one as well.